All praises to the Most High God. So we all have gifts and talents and things that make us unique, I would say. And I was hearing from someone, a commenter who posted this video about me, and she was mocking and talking about someone speaking eloquently, and all of these things that she was saying. And, unfortunately for this person who fails to understand the audience that I'm trying to reach now. Of course, being a person who has, being a professional person, being a person who has conducted more than probably 500 meetings with various people from various backgrounds, including, people who may have been attorneys, people who may have been, teachers, doctors, police officers, cashiers, bus drivers, whatever, people from all different professions. But one of the things that people can relate to, and that's genuineness. And I feel like even if you are the most eloquent speaker, even if you are the most articulate person, people like people who are genuine. People like people who they can relate to. And being relatable means that people can genuinely see that you really are the person that you say you are, and you really do care about the things that you care about. And what happens with these individuals who make such comments is that, because, I used to do a lot of meetings with people who were very articulate people. They had a vast vocabulary, but they just couldn't relate to the people. And so during those periods of time, I had to take over, right? And mediate, because they really wasn't quite reaching the people in the way that the person wanted to be reached, the way the person wanted to be heard, the way the person wanted to be seen. And that's just something you get from dealing with people. And a lot of these people who are giving all this advice, they've never actually been in the field working with people. It's one thing to stand up on a stage and talk to an audience of wealthy people, or to an audience of highly educated people. But it's another thing to be able to relate to the average everyday person. So this was the same person that secretly someone had given them access to a book that I was writing. And although, I have a master's degree, so obviously, and I'm saying it to say that I did do a dissertation. I've done multiple papers. So there's one way to write academically, and then there's another way when you're writing generally to reach the general public. So if you're writing a book, in most cases, you're not writing a scholarly piece, right? You're not writing something to go inside of some academic journal. You're writing something that can relate to everyday people. But the reason these people like to pick apart things is because they're genuinely just envious of what you're doing. And so they always have something to say, because they think that somebody needs to run to them to get their expert opinion. And they don't like the fact that people are doing things without asking for their permission or without needing their opinion. So these are the type of people that you have, because apparently this person presented herself as some type of expert speaker. And probably all she's ever done is stood up in front of a bunch of people who, for whatever reason, that's the audience that she has. So you tend to draw from the audience that you're trying to reach or the audience that you have, which for this woman was probably a bunch of highly educated people, right? But even if you are the most educated person, even if you are the most intelligent person, most people don't sit down and read academic journals for pleasure. Like, I guess some people do, but that's not what most people do. Most people want to pick something that is easy to read and easier to understand. They're not going to pick something that's challenging and they have to process it and digest it and analyze it and interpret it. This is why most books are written on a 7th grade level, because that's the level that most people read on, right? So nonetheless, when you are doing something great, you are always going to be the object of people's criticism and their scorn. Particularly if you make a decision to do something without asking anybody's permission to do it. And I think this is a time right now where women are doing things without asking people's permission. You know, particularly, you know, if you're a woman, you're not supposed to assert yourself. You're supposed to, you know, just be quiet about things. And even if you're experiencing pain, you're not supposed to assert yourself. Even if you're going through things, you're not supposed to assert yourself. So that I talked about and I discussed. And also keep in mind, you know, I'm not a young woman. And I know I look young, so sometimes people mistake me for being young. And they kind of run their mouth about things that they don't know. Because, you know, we don't generally look the way as God's daughters, as the daughters of the Most High, as the daughters of Zion. We don't look like what we've been through. By God's grace and mercy. And so people see us and they assume that we haven't been through things because we don't look like we've been through things. When in actuality, we've been through a lot. But because of God's grace and mercy, He protected us from the wear and tear that comes with all of these things. You know, and I say this, you know, in general, you know. So, and forgive me, I'm trying to gather my thoughts because I have so much going on right now that I really don't have time to write out what I'm going to say. It just flows and it is what it is, right? So, you know, we're in these last days, guys, right? You know, we're in these last days. You know, we are dealing with this beast system. And, you know, God, I just have this energy in my house right now that I'm just not liking. You know, I had some people in my house and I didn't feel comfortable about having these people in my space because they were people who I know don't like me. And I actually put my house up for sale. And the first people who rushed out to come to see my house was these single women. And in many cases, women don't usually go out and buy houses by themselves. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I bought a house by myself. But I just kind of sensed that these women were not in my house to purchase my house, but they were witches and they were trying to be nosy. And I'm not sure if that's true, but it's some energy in here that I don't like that wasn't in here before, that I'm going to have to clear out because it doesn't feel good. I would say that. So, getting back to the subject, and you should be doing house cleansings. You should be praying in your house. You should be clearing it out. And that's definitely something that I'm going to have to do. Because as daughters of Zion, you know, people sense your light. And people who serve the enemy, which is what these people who are doing this community mobbing that many of you are talking about, these people are doing this gaslighting and this gang stalking. They serve the enemy. They don't have any light. And so the reason that they come around those of us who have light is to try to use your light, because they don't have any. And so even though they don't like you, they will try to come around you in order to access your light. And your light is not here for them to access. They need to go to the source and get their own. So if I leave you with nothing else, I leave you with to stay prayed up. Pray at night, pray in the morning, pray all the time. Stay in constant prayer for yourself, for your family. Pray about your finances, pray about your health, pray about everything in these days. So all praises to you guys. I hope I left you with some sort of message today. If I didn't get out what I needed to get out, but I hope I left you with something. Take care, guys.